I had a unique opportunity before this previous Marsy's Law violation that I just decided to go really deep down a rabbit hole about this. And I want to share something with you. And I'm going to give you a little background about Marsy's Law. So Marsy's Law was developed in California. And the reason why it was developed in California was that a mother and her family were in a grocery store. And when they were in that grocery store, they had lost their daughter to a murderer in California. That murderer was let out without their family knowing. And that murderer walked right up to them in a grocery store the day that they were released to confront that family. And so Marsy's Law was developed in order to be spread across the country to establish a Bill of Rights for victims. And a basic right is notice. That if someone committed a crime against you, your family, that you're to be notified about those things. So in my research and all of this, I decided to look nationwide to how many Marsy's Law violations that there have been nationwide. 5. One of which was in Pennsylvania, involving a DA that absolutely admitted to violating Marsy's Law. The other 4 are Deborah Gonzalez.
Oh, my gosh.
The first 3, she fought me. The first 3, she fought me tooth and nail. This last one, she admitted. She just admitted that she violated Marsy's Law. Now let me tell you what she did. Let me tell you what her office did. In Oconee County at the Zaxby's, there were 2 juvenile young ladies sitting and having dinner. In walked a very distressed woman. Very, very distressed. Because a stalker of hers had gotten released on parole and was after her again. She came in to the Zaxby's without a phone, very, very much visible in distress, and these 2 young ladies decided to help her out. And when they did that, they said, let us give you our phone so you can talk and we'll take you home, okay? So they take her home. When they take her home, unbeknownst to her, that the stalker is outside of her house. They let her out, and this 16 and 17-year-old girl pull out, and the stalker then believes that the 2 girls have the ex-girlfriend that he's been stalking in the car with them. He then proceeds to follow them. He then proceeds to try to run them off the road 4 separate occasions. And fortunately for a 17-year-old driver, that did not happen. But he almost killed him 4 times, trying to get him off the road. She calls her father. The father's there in 2 minutes. Oconee County Sheriff's Department is there. He is arrested. All right? Ms. Gonzalez hired a gentleman with very little trial experience by the name of Mr. Islam. And Mr. Islam was the one that handled the bond hearing. So this gentleman comes up for a bond hearing. They never call the victims. They never tell them that this man would be released. Mr. Islam stands up, and I'm just going to say something. I know Calky's observed it, I know Bill's observed it, and if you really want to see Ms. Gonzalez in action, all you have to do is go in a courtroom where she has something going on, something. And all you've got to do is watch for 15 minutes and you will see total incompetence. Now I know I'm being videoed. I have asked the Democratic Party to let me come speak to you. I've asked the Oconee, I've asked the Athens. I challenge you to let me come speak to you. Let me come speak facts to you rather than what's distributed to you. If anybody sees this online, I have said it repeatedly and repeatedly again. I will speak to anybody at any time that I can speak the truth about Deborah Gonzalez. And if you want the truth and you don't believe me, go watch her in court so you can see total incompetence. Well, if you wanted to see total incompetence in play that day, Mr. Islam certainly displayed it. In the Marsy's Law hearing, that I had where she admitted to the violation. I'd played this game before, so I said, I'm not quite sure what they're admitting to, so tell me what you're admitting to under Marsy's law so we can know, the court will know. I want you to know something. I have the transcript of the bond hearing. Judge Stevens asked Mr. Islam, who is a representative of Deborah Gonzalez, have you contacted the victims of this case? Yes. Outright lied to the court. So Judge Stevens, knowing the situation, says, are we sure that Marsy's law has been complied with? Yes, Judge. We've made several attempts to contact these victims, but have been unsuccessful. They had to admit in the Marsy's law that that comment to Judge Stevens was an absolute lie. Absolute lie. You know what happens when you lie to a judge in open court? Bill and I know, dude, you lose your bar license. You don't get to do that. You don't get to defraud the court. So he lies, and then he goes and tells him this is a case about addiction. This never mentions about the fact that this guy is a habitual stalker, has no respect for women, and put many lives in danger that day. Told him it was addiction and needed to be able to get to a rehab to work on his addiction issues. It was to the credit of a probation officer in Oconee County that said, Judge, that's not exactly right. Judge Stevens said, step up right up here. What's your name? Says, well, told her name and said, Judge, I'm actually a probation officer with Athens, Clark County, and he has a pending warrant for his arrest in Barrow County for violation of his parole and probation for these charges for the stalking. And this isn't anything to do about addiction. Judge Stevens had to rely upon the probation officer to give him the correct information about what was going on. So I show up at the Marsy's Law hearing, and they filed what they called a motion to modify the bond before I got there. And was going to have a hearing on the motion to modify the bond because on the day that the victims were not told there, Judge Stevens gave him a bond to release him because he didn't know any better. So I show up and they filed a motion to modify the bond, and they now bring, this is now Mr. Islam is no longer with the district attorney's office. He now practices in Pennsylvania practicing education law. God help that. So I have a new attorney in her office that stands up that knows very little about this case, and I want y'all to hear what she said. Judge, this is a motion to revoke bond. And Judge Stevens looks at her and says, how do I revoke bond when he's still in jail? What am I to revoke? And she said, oh, it's a motion to modify bond. Okay, well, how do you want to modify it? I don't know, Judge, ask Mr. Epps. That actually happened. Mr. Epps represents the victim. He'll tell you what the victims want. Here we are again. They haven't even talked to the victims. And now they're represented, and it was as easy as it could be to talk to me. They committed a Marsy's Law violation during the Marsy's Law hearing. But it gets even worse. So Judge Stevens goes, I don't even know what this motion is. Defense, are you ready? No, we're not ready. And you should have seen this guy in the courtroom, turning around, looking at the victims, staring at them. Total disregard. Total disregard. And he said, I'm going to reset this out for a later date, and we're going to just take on the Marsy's Law hearing. I'll deal with that some later day. We walk out of the courtroom after the Marsy's Law hearing, and where they admitted that they lied to the court. They admitted that they violated Marsy's Law. They they don't care. They'll just admit to it. And the attorney that was there, instead of continuing with the motion to modify the bond, because all we were asking is no bond. He's had enough. This guy has given enough opportunity. Stop it. Unbeknownst to me, did not call me, so I could tell the victims, she withdrew the motion to modify the bond. Withdrew it. She committed yet again another Marsy's Law violation. 3 in one case. 3. I want you to know something. I wrote Deborah Gonzalez and said, this can't continue on a basic level. How about this? I'll work with you, Ms. Gonzalez. How about instead of I filing another motions for Marsy's law violation because I've asked her to recuse herself from this case. She does not have the basic ideas of how to prosecute a case. Just recuse yourself so we can get a real prosecutor in here to do this, and I won't file the Marsy's law violation. I won't do it. I won't do it this time, just to help these folks out. Her response? Let me think about it. Guess what happened when they withdrew the motion? He bonded out. Fortunately for us, he's up in Barrow County right now, where he has a petition to revoke the remainder of his 10-year sentence and hopefully serve behind jail, because that DA's office knows what they're doing. They have been in constant communication with us and understand the facts. But what if this had just gone a different way, folks? What if the probation officer doesn't step up? The foundation of Marsy's law is notice to the victims, to give respect for the victims, the dignity of the victims. What if this guy just decides, you know what? These two women got me locked up. I'm going to go take care of it this time. That's what we're facing with all of this. I feel like every time I come here with Gordon, I have this kind of hot topic, hot news that's coming in. Well, I was running a little bit behind and because I just filed this. A federal lawsuit was filed against Deborah Gonzalez as of this evening.
Awesome.
And I'll tell you what it is. Ms. Gonzalez speaks a lot about voices to be heard, wants the voices of these victims to be heard, wants all voices to be heard. Well, I don't know if y'all have been watching her social media and what she's been doing. She's banning people. She's removing their marks. Larry?
I can't comment anymore on either one of her Facebook.
You can't comment anymore. It is so blatant that she put out a form rules to how you can comment about a constitutional officer's just ongoings about the DA. Let me tell you, if she's looking to me in a hearing to tell the judge the facts of the case, the last thing we need is her to stop from barring citizens who actually know what's going on and the facts that can go in and refute these ridiculous lies, these ridiculous statements, these ridiculous numbers. It's just a falsehood that is being permeated by her and her office. And if she doesn't like what you have to say, she just removes you. She bans you. She takes the comments away. This all happened within 90 days of an election. I wonder why. I wonder why. So she thinks she's probably going to get away with it, and Bill knows this. Federal court moves at a different speed. So it's filed. You will see it. I will make sure that Gordon and everybody can get it out to everyone. Again, if anybody wants me to come speak to this or would like to take a look at it, it'll be on our website so that everybody can see what it is. But this lawsuit that I filed isn't hard because it's already been litigated before when a United States Congresswoman tried to do the same exact thing. And a federal court says you cannot do that. You can't serve in a constitutional role and be a voice for the people and then silence the people. And you know what's really weird about this? She's the enforcer of our laws, but she's breaking our laws. First Amendment violations? How do you call yourself a progressive? Yet you violate the First Amendment. And I want y'all to know something. A copy of that lawsuit has been sent to the ACLU. And I'm doing something that's probably unheard of anybody that has spoken to a Republican group ever. I am asking the ACLU to join me in the fight against Deborah Gonzalez. Because you don't get to say that you are the belief of these rights for these people, but when one of your own does it, you're not going to step up and say that's wrong. Put your money where your mouth is and show me that you mean business about these things. So, where do we go from here? I've asked Judge Stevens to do something in an order that I've submitted to him because she's not learning her lessons. She's not. And everybody will tell you that Marsy's law is great and that it is supposed to. There's a reason why thousands and thousands and thousands of cases are prosecuted in this country every year without Marsy's law violations because it's not supposed to happen. It's not. It's a basic thing. Kirby Smart said it's not hard to do the simple things right. Simple things are represent the victim. So everyone says, Kevin, you keep bringing these Marsy law violations, but nothing's happening. And that shows in her recent one. She didn't fight me. She just admitted it. So I asked him to do something. And this is what I asked him to do. Under specific statutes in the state of Georgia, the prosecuting counsel can order continuing legal education for prosecutors. So I've asked Judge Stevens to issue an order directing Deborah Gonzalez to seek legal education on how to handle an arraignment, a bond, and not violate Marsy's law and victims' rights. I asked him to enter that order in order to do that. I also asked him to specifically find that she has violated specific code sections that's going to allow me to bring the first complaint in the prosecutor's commission so that we can finally get this in front of them so they can see this. This election, for Athens, Clarke County, and Oconee County has severe consequences to it. If we do not put into this office a seasoned prosecutor that doesn't need continuing legal education on handle the simple things right, like an arraignment or a bond, or just telling a victim, hey, the guy that ran your daughters off the road is up for bond and you might want to show up to say something to the judge because we don't know the facts. And let me tell you what's going to happen if she's reelected. I'm not the doomsayer that everyone's need. These are just simple facts. Cases are going to continue to not be indicted. Crimes are going to continue. I was on scene at the QT station in East Athens because, believe it or not, I represent police officers in the PBA. And I'm one of the few lawyers that will show up on a scene when there's an officer-involved shooting. You want to see something? Go to East Athens, right in front of the Crystals, over there at the Goodwill on a Friday and Saturday night, and look what has happened. It's a huge block party with hundreds of people. And in that group that night is one of the most dangerous gangs in this country that has infiltrated Athens, Clarke County, the Red Tape Gang. They are associated with the Bloods out of California, and they are here in Athens. Why? Why are they here? How did they get here? Well, let me tell you a little bit about organized crime, folks. When a safe haven comes around, where people know that they can put their criminal organization in a place, and even if the police officers do their job and arrest them, that they're not going to be prosecuted, where do you think they come? Here. Someone in this room, if we do not get rid of Deborah Gonzalez, someone in this room or someone very close to you will be a serious victim to a crime in the next 6 months if we do not stop this. Crime is rabid. It's not what she says it is. And when the opportunity arises for our person who prosecutes these folks step up, she's putting you further in danger because she's emboldening these folks to do the worst that they can do. I challenge every time I speak in front of y'all, and now we are inside 60 days of this election. I really do challenge. Take this video and just share it. Challenge someone to come to court for 15 to 30 minutes to watch her. challenge every Democrat that you know, every single one, to go, or Republican, or independent. I don't care. But this has to stop. And it's on us. It's on us if we don't stop this. We have to show up. And I know I've watched her. A vote for Deborah's a vote for Harris. Vote the D. Go down the line. Vote the D. She knows that it's a problem. Her recent fundraiser ad was for a fundraiser in Atlanta. In Atlanta, I got it. She invited me to it. I almost went. But I'm begging you. And I begged the last time, and I'm going to do it again. Please don't walk out of this meeting feeling just, oh, I'm ready to do it, I'm energetic. Please, please, please step outside of your box. 10 people. Tell 10 people. If everybody in this room did that, we'd start making a difference. So I thank y'all for this wonderful opportunity to speak to you. And I promise you that I will do everything in my power until the last breath I've got, which I hope is a long time away, to not only get that elected, but to support him to the end, because that is what we need in office. Thank y'all very much.